Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It's myself, George, joined once more by Tate for a bit of a different video. Of course, Summer Blockbuster season is coming to an end, and we're heading into one of our busiest patches of the year. And you know what we thought? We've had a pretty chill August so far. There's not been many new films out. We obviously had an All or Nothing review, and we just thought we'll go over some stuff because, I mean, first of all, Tate, how are we doing tonight?
Yeah, doing okay, doing good. Yeah, ready to talk about kind of what's happening towards the end of the year, which is, I guess, a bit more exciting than it has been the last few kind of months or weeks to do a film, because it's been a bit of a dead one this summer, which is weird to say for film. We had all of our kind of
same since Top Gun.
I mean, we had our big things like at the start of the summer with like Top Gun and stuff like that, and now since then it's been a lot of TV shows which have been kind of picking up, which we'll talk about in a bit. But it truly feels like the first year properly since the pandemic kind of, TV's kind of overtaken film, and it's kind of taken the big priority over it, and especially with this summer blockbuster season. But we've got loads coming up, so hopefully that will kind of, peter out. And,
just thoughts on that, actually. I mean, anyone in the comments, we've got Dave here, we've got Tom, Carl, Martin. Thank you all for joining. And maybe as well, just comment your thoughts maybe on the year so far. I mean, we are going to go over some of our stuff. We're happy to answer any questions. If you don't, I'm trying to think, when was the last time he jumps on a stream? I've done it in such a while, just like chilling.
Yeah, genuinely.
And, so yeah, people comment stuff, and just kind of bounce off what you said there. The lack of big films. I wonder if it's like not COVID, but a lot of the films that have come out this year were either delayed or we filmed these before and after COVID. Whereas I wonder if next year is going to be the year where it's like this is all 2021 plus, like really, like filming wise. After obviously the pandemic's still ongoing, but after the lockdowns, we're in a more consistent area of filming and stuff. So that's a very interesting observation. You are right. TV, we've got a whole section for TV. So this is called. This channel has always been Cinema Savvy, but we have a TV section because this year is sorry, not even this year. The next month is stacked. Stacked is an understatement. I mean, so
can we even call it TV anymore? I mean, I feel that whenever we mention TV nowadays, it's most of the time streaming, because that really has just kind of taken off over the last year, especially with lockdowns.
It's the streaming wars.
It is the streaming wars.
What a great name. Maybe in 20 years there'll be a documentary by the winner.
I was going to say, well, South Park have already done an episode on the streaming wars. A double special on it,
and now they're on Paramount Plus, so you should Paramount Plus to get something.
I want to point out the special had absolutely nothing to do with streaming platforms. It was all to do with water streams and stuff like that. But that's a completely different,
Exactly. And what we'll say to people as well. Sorry to nick your intro tape, but get us on our socials. Again, we announced. We knew we were doing this video. I just forgot to set the stream up until earlier today, so there might have been some posts. We've got a fair few of you watching, so thank you all for checking us out. And if you want to follow us on our socials, we announce our videos as much as we can. We even post some stuff that we might be. I mean, yesterday I was at the Rogue One screening. Obviously, it wasn't a press event. That was an Empire event. But I was like, I'll put that on Cinema Savvy. So follow us on our socials, Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and airbox.com. So Cinema Savvy, obviously, I say we're in honesty, Facebook's pretty dead for us. We schedule most of our socials together with Twitter. But Instagram, we're getting used to doing Letterboxd, obviously Letterboxd. So you can find some stuff on there. And if you want to get some merch, Tate's just moved his pillow. Redbubble, link in the description. I'm not going to buy a pillow. I'm sorry. I'm not to slight her anyway.
It's so comfy. I took it away with me on holiday recently. And,
I mean, I don't mind saying it. The only reason I'm wearing a hat and a football top is I've come home late tonight from swimming. So that's my fault we're late. So apologies for those that were waiting.
I'm here with the jumper because for some strange reason, it's actually quite cold in my room today. So
yeah, and bloody hell, sorry, Tom. TV's been great this year. The highlight was watching the new Resident Evil show on Netflix. Bloody loved it. I think you'll see the first person I know that not just seen it, but the first one I know that said it's good. So excellent. Again, we always know Tom's got amazing thoughts. Maybe Tom was on the beers when he watched it.
Well, my question is based on kind of video games and TV shows and stuff like that. Did anyone watch the Halo series? Because I hear that's been ripped to shreds. Completely.
And that was going to be a film that many years again. Paramount, stream on Paramount
again. Yeah.
Dave, it's crazy how fast the year's gone. No massive blockbusters. Was nice to be able to watch Top Gun so soon after release at home. Hey, I thought hold on, Dave. Did you not see it at the cinema? Comment that you had to wait like 100 days. Like Tom Cruise's rule came in, and Carl entering the Legend is Yoda begun the streaming wars have.
Of
And
course.
this is kind of it. We can get into TV in a bit. So what we'll do, we have a structure of sorts, but we want to keep this pretty chill, don't we? Take pretty casual.
Yeah.
As we said, we're going to announce a few things. Nothing major, not like the January stuff when I was there. Like, here's a trailer that I've done in advance. Nothing like that today. But we spoke about a blockbuster season being pretty lackluster. I was just thinking about putting in the description.
I was going to say,
many
like,
reasons behind that.
I was going to ask you a question of like, just it's going to be quite an easy answer for you. Maybe one of them will be. But what is your favorite film or film moment from this year so far? Okay, what's your favorite TV show or TV moment from this year so far?
Okay, so favorite TV moment is going to be just Kenobi. I'm not going to pick a moment because there's some great ones. What I'm hoping to say is in 3 months' time, I can potentially say Cassian based off what I've seen and heard in the last 24 hours. But films, it's hard to look past Top. I'm going to be blunt. Like Top Gun Maverick is like to me like not. It's not changed cinema. To me, cinema's peaked. I don't see return. And I am going to ask you the same question. But what I will say is, I think one of the reasons it's been so poor this year, the blockbusters, is that entering this year, everyone was scared of Marvel. You know, Top Gun dropped 3 weeks after Doctor Strange. Jurassic World was 2 weeks after that. Lightyear a week after that. And they basically had this window between the end of May and start of July where every blockbuster came out to avoid Thor, to avoid Doctor Strange. Both of those two, to me, have underperformed. Yes, they've made a lot of money and they're profitable, they're blockbusters, they're successful. But there is no denying that Marvel have had what should have been $2 billion plus films have been swamped by Top Gun, and the audience is not dropping out. You know, again, I'm not being one of the people. It's not bombed. I might tune out for a bit of it, but the streaming must-watch streaming show followed by film system isn't going to work. And I think next year, I'm hoping for a couple of companies, but you know what? I'm not scared of you, Marvel. Let's drop a big film a week after yours, because I think that's why this year's been disappointing, because everyone was so scared of Marvel. That being said, favorite for you TV moment and film.
So favorite film, I guess, of this year for me has been Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's just stuck with me. I've seen it twice now, and it's one of those where the more you watch it, the more you kind of get involved in it. I'm glad that it managed to actually become like a massive hit based off that.
Highest grossing A24 release. Is it 100 mil? Is that on 100 mil worldwide? Which is pretty insane for its budget.
I want to say it's more than that at this point. I do want to say it's a little bit more than that, but
I'm the same as you. I love that. I did take my dad to watch that, and he absolutely hated it. And he admits it's because he got confused.
No, my dad loved it. He thought it was bonkers crazy. He's like,
but this is it. Like, my dad's never seen Temple of Doom, so I was like, "It's short round." He goes, "I don't know who or what that is," and I found out he's never even seen Tomorrow Never Dies, so I couldn't even tell him that's Michelle Yeoh, and he didn't know who that was. But, no, that's a good one.
Favorite TV is a difficult one because, like,
I think we're about to hit the cusp of what the best shows are going to be in the next month or two.
Probably. I mean, I really enjoyed The Boys. I think there was loads of moments off that. I guess we've gone past the threshold of discussing spoilers.
Did you see?
Right? Because I would want to say
Negan from Walking Dead's been cast in Boys season 4 today.
Oh, has he?
That's a big name. Oh, if it's a long role, that's exciting.
I know him more from Watchmen, but yeah, was it Jeffrey Dean Morgan? Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Yeah, because I kind of dropped off The Walking Dead just before he kind of got introduced. But I really enjoyed Stranger Things as well. It's a difficult one.
I literally forgot that came out. I'm sorry. But again, because there's so much stuff happening on the horizon, there has been. I mean, you're currently watching Succession. I watched, and technically it wasn't this year, but I like the last year at Christmas. I spent a week watching 3 seasons, and it was like one of the best weeks. To the point I took my sister's keyboard from her flat, and I was like, I'm going to learn the Succession theme. And I did the first 15 seconds over about 2 weeks. I was like, you know what? That's me done here. I don't know how to play the keyboard, but I've successfully done the opening 15 seconds.
Brilliant. We got loads of comments coming in as well for what people are enjoying.
So Horses, Gary Oldman show on Apple. I've heard lots of stuff.
Things about that, yeah.
I know that season 2's either been filmed and they're filming season 3 now, but Apple is very confident.
They're filming season 3 in and around Bristol, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, and I've heard lots of. And again, this is it. Like, there are so many things we'd love to cover on the channel, and we'll get into the TV. I mean, I don't mind bumping the schedule on. We can actually do TV because we're talking about TV. We'll do the TV stuff first. Carl, there's been so many films I've been looking forward to this year. They've just been so underwhelming. I'm not sure why. I'm kind of the same as Carl, if I'm being blunt. The ones that have hit me by surprise, Top Gun Maverick, I didn't think its trailers looked that good, if I'm being honest. I wasn't rolled over by Top Gun Maverick. I went to the press screening. I was excited to go to the press screening because Cannes had happened. There were positive reviews. But Top Gun, for me, was a film where, again, no expectation. And I just got blown away. Probably to the point I've not been blown away like that since maybe Dark Knight in 2008, if I'm being genuinely honest.
I had an inkling it was going to be good based off Joseph Kosinski, because he's done some solid films in the past, and especially kind of from Tron to Oblivion and the different scenes that he filmed for those, you think, well, stick him in a fighter jet, make it modern day and realistic, and you probably do a really good job of it. So, I reckon. Do you know what? As if we're going to be talking about kind of what we're moving into next, anyway, as kind of our next talking point, because it's going to be award season coming up pretty soon. But I would happily say that Top Gun's going to win 1 or 2 Oscars for technical achievements. It could very well.
Yeah. Stuff
it
like
could do it for like sound achievements and stuff like that. I reckon it could have one of those outside shots, like your Mad Max Fury Roads. I think that's the easiest example of like a big budget action film that manages to sneak into the best picture kind of conversation. In the same way that Everything Everywhere All at Once, if that manages to sneak in on any account to any of the awards, then I'd be very happy as well. We do have an interesting award season coming up, a very unknown award season coming up, and there's only really 1 or 2 horses in the race from kind of the far out, but you never know. It means that it's very open for everything else.
No, I'm with you on that, and I think to me, like there are ways I sort of value films. So, Top Gun Maverick being nominated for Best Picture is like a win in itself. And if I'm being blunt, because I love Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's an indie film. It's not a very typical Oscar voter type film. That's the kind of film that if it got a nomination, that's a win in itself. Don't care what the nomination is, if it gets a nomination, that's a win. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot and say like top 5 of the year, but my top 5. Well, I can tell you my top 4 because I watched Batman in March. I was like, yeah, this is incredible.
This is brilliant.
Then, like,
I need to.
A few weeks later, I was like,
before you say
Northman's incredible.
Hold on, very quickly. Are we including films that we have reviewed? Because honestly, I would have to look back and see actually what I've watched this year before I can make any comments on that. Because
I had a really weird month in May where I was like, yeah, Batman was amazing. Then I saw North, and I was like, oh my god, Northman's like the best film I've seen in years, which it was at the point. And I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once the week after. I was like, oh my god, this film is groundbreaking. I was like, this year is insane. How can it get better? And I was like, Top Gun Maverick, and I was like, that was the peak, that ascension from those films. And I'm kind of with Carl on this. The ones I entered the year hyped up for, Thor, Doctor Strange. I mean, I don't want to say Doctor Strange is a disappointment. Underwhelming maybe is a better term. I sort of have a very on and off relationship looking back. So there's things I love about it, things where it didn't quite hit me where I wanted it to.
I still really enjoyed Coda, and that was
but that was last. Technically, it was last year.
Technically, it was. It's like between.
I know it won the Oscar this year, but it got dropped from streaming last year. But it's what we're hoping for. We'll get into the festival stuff in a bit too, but I think we're looking at one of the strongest Oscar years. Oh no, hold on, I'll get into that. A few films have now been delayed that I thought would have been in the fight. But Tom, I've started watching Lovecraft Country a few weeks ago. I've heard of that show. I don't know much about it.
Jonathan Majors, isn't it? I know
I'm not
the
sure.
only thing I know about that
Jonathan Majors is smashing at the moment.
Jonathan Majors is in that. That's the only thing I know about that.
And Martin, I saw Top Gun Maverick 4 times now. It's close I ever gets me in a fighter jet. Martin, I'll tell you this. I took the punt and did 4DX. I'd never done it before. It's not something I intend on doing. And I was there in Leicester Square before the press screening of Jurassic World. And I had a drink, and I know 4DX is a bit like a roller coaster, right? But I didn't think it would be that much. And it was like, cover your drinks if they're open tops. And they played this preview of Minions 2. And it was in a plane, and things were shaking. I was like, hold on. If Minions 2 has just done this, what the fuck's Top Gun Maverick going to do? And I literally downed a Pepsi Max from the cinema. And then, like, 4DX is like, it's horrific in a great way that I'd never recommend it to watch a film for the first time. But if Top Gun Maverick's ever showing, like when they're going upwards vertically, like the chairs lean back at the angle and you go up.
Oh my god.
So yeah, Top Gun in IMAX. I mean, I'm doing the Top Gun double bill tomorrow night, which isn't in IMAX, which is a shame. I literally tweeted Cineworld like, you've not done the Rogue One re-release. Now they're doing the Lord of the Rings, not the extended editions, but they're now doing the Lord of the Rings in IMAX, but one each day. I was like, well, I can't do one each day. I'm in London for the football on Saturday, and I've got a life, so I can't do everything. Well, not much of a life, but a life still. And Martin, Where the Crawdads Sing was quite good. I haven't seen that. Apologies. There are a lot of films I've not seen that
That's
people spoke about on the posters.
oh,
Is
that's
this
based on famous. That's based on a famous book or something like that. I know a few people are asking me.
right? I
whether I've
recognise the
seen it or
poster.
anything
That
like
came out recently. I think that's actually still in cinemas.
that is still in
Easy Edgar
cinemas
Jones.
as well. Yeah.
Interesting. Again, like because there's so many films, and we do try
Yeah.
and cover as many as we can. And I guess with that, what we can kind of like move into, if we want to sort, I mean, okay, just comment stuff. We're just happy just to chill out with you guys.
Yeah.
Again, we don't need to do this often. What we'll do, because we've got a mini schedule, let's talk award season, because there's a few big festivals happening. Obviously, not London, sorry, Venice and Toronto are the big two. They're the scene of what's to come. And then we get after that New York and London. So we put it on our socials, but me and Tate have both been confirmed for London Film Festival. That's going to be the start of October, as it always is. It's press the magic button.
Boom.
So we're not going to just sit here and preview stuff. There's a few films that have been announced. White Noise, the new Adam Driver film, has been announced today, inadvertently by a trailer.
Yeah.
The new Sam Mendes film, Empire of Light. Oh, that's going to be so good. I'm going to get mixed up so much of Empire of the Sun. That's been announced, of course. Glass Onion, Knives Out 2.
Matilda's opening. Yeah.
I feel like there's another one. There's many we can assume we're going to get.
They've mentioned a bunch of films. We're fingers crossed hoping for some big ones, but you never know with these festivals. Fablemans is the one.
Only because it's going to ruin my OCD of a schedule if it's not. But yeah, so I guess what we'll say, me and you have both been accredited. Now, obviously, the one thing I want to talk about, if anyone's watching, so I know you've got Tom and Dave in the comments. There are people that jump on our videos. And if anyone's watched these, we always thank them at the end because we do this out of our own time. And for people to jump on and help us, it always goes appreciated. A few folk that obviously have been on videos before, Neil, Charlie, Theo, I know we're going, Jed's going, but he's involved in a different capacity that won't be with us. But there's a lot of people we know going to the LFF. So, we'll be trying to cover, as we do, we're trying to cover as many films as we can. There are certainly some headliners, but we're just going to bluntly say we can't cover them all as much as we'd love to. And if we're lucky, like we have been very lucky on occasions, if we get any red carpet slots, and if you're on that red carpet, if you get interviews, because it's even an if when you're on there, we'll have them on here. So LFF starts October the 5th through to the 16th, I think.
Yeah, 5th to 16th.
I'm going to be in London from the Monday the 10th. Luckily, one of the places near me, well, I say near me, 40 minutes, is showing some of them, the Midland Art Centre. So Matilda, I'll probably watch locally in the evening. A bit like Spence, actually. You were at the press screening, and I was at the cinema in the evening. And the full schedule is going to come out on September the 1st. So that's not the press schedule, but that will be, we know what films are going to be there. So
that's exactly 1 week today. We'll have that information.
Is it? 10 a.m. next Thursday. So again, if you're curious about big films, the festival circuit is very interesting to follow. Again, like Toronto and Venice look the best they've looked in a fair few years. And if London Film Festival's lucky, they'll pick some of the best ones. And what they've also said is there's going to be some big shows. There's going to be 13 shows to be precise being premiered. That's there.
A lot more than previous. I'm guessing any of the big shows that are going to be coming out.
Last year they had Succession.
They did have Succession.
Sick.
They also had they had Euphoria, and they also did they have Euphoria? Or was that the year before? I remember seeing Euphoria.
Last year was the first. Last year was the first one they've done.
They had Industry, which was HBO and BBC, definitely on there because I remember seeing that and going, "Oh, that's interesting. I know people are on that." But all of the ones I've just mentioned and all the ones we've mentioned so far are either Disney or HBO. So I'm assuming HBO will have some previews for shows on there. And yeah, we'll see what else gets announced for there as well.
And we've got Dave. I know it's everyone's cup of tea, but I'm really looking forward to Avatar 2. Feels like an event. And this is it. Like I've been on that train that's mocked Avatar a lot. The whole Pocahontas in space. And what's to me has been really interesting. Now we've entered the actual. It was the running joke of Avatar 2 is coming out next year, and that went on for about 5-6 years. Now, like it was locked in, like it is happening. It has been filmed. It has been done visually. I don't want to say I'm hyped, but I'm because I really like the behind the scenes stuff. I've said before, like motion capture is like one of my favorite technologies. I'm really excited to see it, and it feels like an event film. And the 4D, what a mouthful. the 4D HDR 4K HDR 3D IMAX re-release is happening. So basically, people, it's an IMAX re-release, but you have to wear 3D glasses. But it's a brand new remastered 4K copy. I think James Cameron said that there's like not new sound effects, but he's very much done. I'd imagine.
Imagine if you threw in extra scenes in there. How long that title?
It'll probably have an Avatar trailer at the end, and that's September 23rd. I'm at the football the day after, but I'm probably going to see that. And we know that Avatar 2 is probably the next big. I mean, there's 3 blockbusters left this year, but Avatar 2, we just had the news that Aquaman's moves to next year. Aquaman's moved to Christmas next year. Shazam's delayed itself like 3 months. Warner Brothers has run out of money, which is insane. We'll have Avatar 2 covered and potentially Avatar 1. Again, like we've got a schedule. We've not like fully indicted big stuff into that. But I'd imagine we cover Avatar because at that point a certain big series will be done. And I guess that's a lovely little segue into the series we're doing at the moment. I don't have a background ready for it, but obviously we're like, are we 6 months into the Spielberg retrospective now, or 5 months in? Like,
we're a fair way into the Spielberg, like a real fair way in.
Yeah. And, every Tuesday we have a video coming out. If you're curious about behind the scenes, we've got The Terminal dropping next Tuesday. That's pre-recorded. We've also pre-recorded War of the Worlds for the week after. And then we've got Munich 2 weeks after, which me, you and Elliot are recording next week, I think Monday. And, again, because they're not live, and if anyone's curious about that, so because there's 34 films to cover, not including Fabelmans, plus a top 10 ranking, that's like basically 2/3 of the year. And we kind of knew this back in January when I pitched it to you. And it was like, I know this is a hefty task, and it certainly feels like it. And it's not something we can commit to doing live. So we very much had to sacrifice the live stream elements, which I do miss. Although we premiere them, again, we both can't be around at 8 o'clock on Tuesdays to look over a comment section. So we're having fun with it. That's the main thing. It's really fun. And we've got Tom and Dave that both been involved in the comments. I know that Martin's been on a few of the premieres as well when I've been able to have a check and reply. But that series has been delightful. It's been quite eye-opening as well. We had some new faces on. We've been able to bring Paul Klein on for the first time, who's been on a couple now, who's an absolute legend. He'll be at the festival as well. So that series has been fun. It's a bit different, isn't it? Because, again, we've done long-form series on like Marvel and Bond.
Yeah.
But director-wise, we've really only done Nolan and half of a Peter Jackson one. I mean, I wasn't even on that one, if I'm being honest. I've not. But obviously that was meant to be picked up in December. We haven't actually thought about that.
But, that's kind of all we've done so far. And the directors one's really difficult because, first of all, what's nice about it is directors do different styles of films, and this is something that you've noticed kind of a lot with the Spielberg retrospective. Like almost every other week it's like, oh, this is the first time Spielberg did a whatever kind of film, like a spy film, or the first time, and even coming up to West Side Story, it's like the first time he did a musical. So you get something different every single week, and you get to see the evolution of his career and the different kind of techniques and crafts that he learns over time, different things that he uses to kind of get across his point in cinema. The difficulty with it is that directors do tend to have quite a high turnover of films. The later on in their career, especially when you've got a career that's kind of as storied as Spielberg's, like that number just keeps on racking up. And I mean, we previously discussed like, oh, if we were going to do another big long directors one in the future, we looked at directors. I mean, Scorsese one would just be mental. The amount of films that he's done, it would just be almost impossible because it's like
as long as Spielberg, and we're not doing a franchise this year because there's, again, maybe we can question the lack of. I mean, last year we did Bond, Marvel, Matrix, all the Spider-Mans. Maybe I've missed something else. Like last year was stacked, whereas last year we even tricked Austin Powers at the end of Bond, and this year again because we're so onto the Spielberg zone of it all, it's kind of made it really exciting heading into award season because we might potentially have Fabelmans up for all the awards next year. It might potentially win if I don't want to get ahead of a film that's not even got a trailer out there and a poster. But it is going to be really interesting having that series. And even, again, if you want some behind-the-scenes people, like, we're having to record 6 episodes in the next 3 or 4 weeks because when we go off to the festival, we need to be able to have videos when we're back. So, that again, we have schedules and stuff that we follow, and obviously, we've got our own jobs and our own lives as well. So it's fun. Luckily for me, I don't sleep a lot, so it's even easier for me to like, edit stuff and all that sort of thing. But the Spielberg stuff's been, as I said, for me quite eye-opening, and because no one, I mean, a few people that have been involved have seen everything, but me and you haven't. So a lot of the films we get to see for the first time and get different viewpoints on as well. And we've got Tom in the chat as well, who he's watching this for the first time out before doing a review on it. Hats off to Tom, because that was pretty tough. I think we said in the video that's probably almost eye-opening. We wouldn't even call it a review; we called it a discussion by the end of the video. And we've got Martin saying this retrospective is someone's taken greater represented. Thank you to involved. Well, honestly, Martin, thank you for watching as always and for giving us feedback throughout. Again, I've been on before when we've missed your comments, so you do reply to those. Tom, that War of the Worlds was fantastic. That's coming out on the September the 6th. And really, again, completely unparalleled. I don't mind saying this. So Cashin was meant to come out next Wednesday. And the Terminal drops next Tuesday. The Terminal has Diego Luna in. Obviously, Cashin then got delayed. That was a weird coincidence. War of the Worlds is literally the post 9/11 film, and it's on the same week as 9/11's anniversary. And we've had some very other weird coincidences all the way throughout. And we've got a few of
was it Munich? Munich is this isn't really a coincidence. This is just like
no, it still happens though.
Technically, 50th anniversary of the Munich Olympic Games is this month, and we're going to have Munich out in a few weeks' time, or at least we're recording it next week. So it's
re-releases of E.T. and Jaws over the next few weeks in the UK as well. I'm probably going to check out Jaws. Everyone knows I'm afraid of sharks, but I might see it.
Do you know? I still want the concept of just having a camera stuck on you and just watching your reaction to it.
Me, like how much I advocate for like IMAX.
Yeah,
and it's like George has gone to the cinema to watch Jaws. Like that's something that I never expected to say.
Would you go to an IMAX? Would you go to one of like the Cineworld 4D roller coaster things of Jaws, where like jolts your seat and stuff like that?
Could you imagine like 4DX Jaws? Like they literally just feed you to sharks. That'd be a great way for Cineworld to get some like money recouped. Let's bring up a couple more. So, jumping to the blockbusters, we've got Dave. Wakanda Forever will be huge. I'm with you on that. I know we even.
It's an absolute outside shot. I'm kind of it's a pipe dream, but if that is LFF, if that's a London Film Festival,
it's not.
If they're going to be pushing it for awards though, because the first film managed to get nominated, and I feel like they're going to try and do exactly the same with this film.
I think Disney's going to push Avatar. I think they're going to really push Avatar.
Oh, I feel like they're going to push
just Disney. You got to think, even before they bought Fox, Disney had the Avatar theme park. Like they have been, they probably had their. And this is like, again, not like a conspiracy, but had Disney not bought Fox, I think they would have bought Avatar, just the IP. And to be fair to its credit, although the first was a mocked lot, I'm more interested in like going into the world. Maybe not the lore and the history of it, but certainly I remember there was like a really good PS3 game when the first film came out. Same with stuff like Tron. Maybe Disney should pump some money into Tron and get rid of Jared Leto. Olivia Wilde's got a new film coming out next month. She was in Tron. Why don't you get her started in the next Tron film and make it properly Tron 3? Or, the guy that just did Top Gun Maverick, go apologize and bring him back for Tron 3. So exactly. I could get ranting about Tron. But that kind of pings us this Disney, and I said this, you didn't have to just before we went live.
We discussed this beforehand. So before we went live, we discussed this exact point with Avatar kind of being re-released in cinemas, and then it's going to be once again possibly re-released closer to the release of Avatar 2. Removing it from their platform because they obviously want people to go and see the version in cinemas, which is far too long that George mentioned earlier, or at least far too long a name to mention. But yeah, it's I wouldn't say it was sneaky. I'd say it was very business savvy. It's very like go see it in our cinemas.
You look behind me, you see like a lot of films. Sorry, the neighbour's dog's back, and they always do. We've got new neighbours. If you're Again, I don't want to push physical media because I've got people I know that have been like, we got hundreds and thousands of films, and then they just did Blu-ray after. All I'm just going to say, I'm not going to tell you like these snobby like physical media, blah blah blah. But if you're relying on streaming services for your stuff, HBO Max is a whole other conversation of what's happening at the moment. Then removing stuff, disappearing it off history now. So the only way you can get half of the HBO Max original stuff is to have downloaded it illegally off torrent sites, which is mental. You do not ever own a film if you streaming it, and that's why I know a fair play. I stream a lot of films, it's fine. But the ones I really enjoy, the ones I care about, or maybe I've never seen this, I want to see this film one day, I'll buy it because it's the security of having it for something that's happened. And to me, it brings on that longer form discussion now of okay, Mandalorian, Kenobi, Marvel shows. Yes, Disney Plus is going to be sustainable long term, but with there never being a physical release, we don't ever know. I know that Netflix used to do it, but yeah, it's a weird one. And Martin, the Bond films on the big screen have been such a treat, especially the Connery films. It probably won't happen again. I've been doing the Brosnan ones. You can catch my thoughts on Radio 007 on their big roundups. Love the guys over there for inviting me on for those. Dine of a Day on Sunday. But again, like, I know Kyle in the comments we spoke about this a lot as well. You know, View are doing them all, Odeon are doing them all. Cineworld originally weren't in the first PR statement. They weren't doing any of them. They clearly obviously got a bit of aggro. They're like, oh, we're going to do it now. But they're doing it at 12 out of 128 screens in the UK. Don't know why it's so hard for them to show one film once a week in 128 cinemas when, you know, again, I don't want to talk about the politics of going bankruptcy. It's not because of James Bond, obviously, but, you know, there are very viable questions to ask about Cineworld's programming structure, let alone business acquisitions and whatnot. But yeah, very envious of a lot of the people who've had the chance. Again, I just can't justify paying to watch Bond weekly when I've got the box set behind me and I pay for my membership for the company that won't show it. I mean, even this, like, not to rant, but like, this is real tension. We're going to talk about Bond in a bit, by the way, because the anniversary is coming. But when you've got, so my Cineworld membership is like Group 5, I think they call it, or 4. Like, mine covers me using the West End Cineworlds.
Oh yeah.
I go to the Leicester Square one quite a bit, and they're not showing it there. They're showing it at the O2 in Greenwich, which is massively envious for anyone that saw Well It's Not Enough there on Monday.
I've made my trip to the O2 one before just because I used to have a Cineworld card that didn't cover me for the West End zone, so I had to go to the O2 one because it was the closest one outside of that bubble.
And this is it. So if you're paying the highest price, surely by default, that cinema should show anything that's limited screened should by default be shown at the most expensive cinema. Because if I did live in central London in Zone 1, God, I mean, if I did, I wouldn't need to worry about the price of it. But just the logic of you're paying for this premium location, but this premium location isn't going to show a film.
Premium films.
It's
just going to show the standard films that you get literally anywhere else in any of the other Cineworlds. You're not getting.
And this is what I would sort of tweet them.
Exclusive,
Yeah, and you know, again, Tom Butler, who's on A to Z, lovely. We were chatting before. You know, Scott's been to a few of them. I know the Prince Charles are doing them, and Scott from Spy Hat I meant. And Tom's like, luckily, his local cinema was one of the 12, which has worked out magnificently for him. And he said he'd have probably gone to Odeon had he not have been at Cineworld. So it is an interesting conversation. We've got Dave. I buy all my movies through Apple now, so I can't start buying DVDs and Blu-rays again. I do sometimes worry they might remove them for some reason after I paid for them. And this is it. And you know, again, Dave, I know you well. The ones you love, I know you bought. You know, you've got the Star Wars Steelbooks on display behind you. Again, I don't buy it digitally, but I completely understand why people do, especially when you can build up an incredible, like, I mean, I used to get the codes with the Blu-rays. You'd get them to go on Flickster. And it's like, oh, by the way, George, all of your codes have now transferred from Flickster to Google Play. So I had to like restructure it all, and I lost some of the films, or some of them now didn't count as HD, and it's all a faff. And the T&Cs are very, very dodgy with that. But again, if you're buying them, I think you could just go. I think long term is Apple safe. I think so. My only worry is stuff like this Warner Brothers Discovery thing. You know, I don't have a clue what they're going to do. We've got Carl, the whole group membership's over, complete of Cineworld. Martin, have you start showing Star Trek films? Yes, I'm seeing Star Trek 1 and 2 at Cineworld.
Cineworld did it. Yeah, Cineworld are doing it as well. They announced that they were going to be showing, didn't they? But that's in all locations because my local one's doing that as well.
Exactly. And this is it. And this is what really annoyed me. But there's a double bill on the 8th of September that all the cinemas, I think, are doing 1 and 2 back to back. So I'm going to do that just because I've never seen them. So I'm curious about that. And we've sort of strayed off tangent ever so slightly. Let's move into
the realm of TV.
Let's talk TV. So, oh God, how do I read this? We spoke a bit about TV tonight, but we kind of said there's a lot of shows happening. So if I'm going to be blunt right now, we'll go through them all a bit more. But we've got House of Dragon started on Monday.
Yeah.
Now, many years ago, we covered Game of Thrones Weekly, and that was such a great thing to do. I think it was your idea. We'd start geographically. We'd start at the north and work our way down to King's Landing. And obviously, as the seasons went on, there was less locations. So, and obviously, we didn't even tell you, there was just never a conversation about House of Dragon because I think the last season of Game of Thrones was so, I don't want to be the guy that says it. I'll just say disappointing.
It was disappointing.
There are
it
some
went.
people that like it.
I'll put it this way: it went from kind of series 4, 5, and maybe a little bit into series 6, where he's getting good again, as like arguably the best show on TV. And then by the time the show had finished, Breaking Bad was clearly the best show that had won in that entire era. Completely beat it out, and it turned from being kind of like, it became that TV show. Don't Game of Thrones the ending of your TV show.
It's like the new Lost, isn't it? Whereas
It
I
is
think
the new Lost. Yeah.
in retrospect, because I've not seen Lost, actually, Carl, I know you're a Lost fan, so if you're still watching, do comment. But I think the thing with Lost, if you watched it hypothetically like me, I've never seen an episode. If you watch it as a whole, it's probably all right when you get to the ending. But when you've been following it annually, and it's been this incredible show across a long period of time, and your investment has spanned years, not weeks, that's been shows it different. And the big thing with Game of Thrones was my older sister started watching it at the start of this year. And I sort of text like, why would you watch it? It gets so rubbish. And I thought, you know what? Her boyfriend had already seen it all, but he wanted to watch it again. So I thought, actually, Laura, go ahead, watch it. And then so it was really interesting chatting to her. We got an argument once because she goes, I finished season 4. I was like, no, you haven't. We got an argument about what season she was on because she's like, I finished this season. And I was like, what happened on this episode? It was when Tommen kills himself, wasn't it? Is that season 5 or 6? Can't remember. So this happened. I said, no. This. I was like, you're not on the season you think you are, and it was really petty. I was like, and then like she watched one episode. She goes, okay, I got my dates mixed up. But
so that was Winter episode. That was season 6.
Season 6, and she finished it, and she said it was. She goes, you could see it dropped off, but she says it didn't matter because she'd done it in such a short bulk of time. Yeah. She has the memories of the whole show, whereas I think ourselves have memories of each individual season. And obviously the hype it built. So
well, it's just, I mean, my gripe with it was it would take a whole series for them to travel from one half of the country to the other half of the country. And then by the end of the final series, it was like literally less than one episode to be able to fast travel over there. But we're talking about Game of Thrones because, of course, House of the Dragon has started. We're going to be doing a review of that once the season has ended. We're not going to do the same as what we did with our Game of Thrones thing, even though both of us have seen the first episode and both of us quite liked the first episode. It was very enjoyable. I'm very intrigued as to see where it goes. It's not a spoiler or anything like that, but the only thing I've been told is, so I know episode 6 was usually when season kind of kicked up a gear and had like something crazy. The famous episode 9s of the series. No. Apparently it's episode 7 this series is going to be the one that is going to have everyone talking. That's all we know so far as information. So I'm looking forward to it.
And what I'll say to people, again, like books, etc., George R. R. Martin published a book called Fire and Blood or House of Blood or something. It's like a Targaryen history book. And the perspective is the book is somebody in Westeros reading a history book within Westeros. If that makes any sense. Like a grandmaster, imagine reading out aloud. And what that's been able to do is they can change a few things because the perspective of it is written as I guess there's that real saying that the history books are written by the winners. Yeah. And that's the essence of this show, that a few things will get changed. So, for example, in episode 1, in the book, it says that someone dies in childbirth. There's no context to it other than that. Whereas in episode 1 of the show, without getting into it, we see very complicit differing reasons of why that happened and potential outcomes of that. So it's going to be interesting seeing this show develop, and there's talk of it being, I think, 3 or 4 seasons. And if you do buy that book, you can probably actually read where the show is going to end because actually you know some of the end points. One of it was set in Game of Thrones, which is actually pretty mad that that's gone around recently. And a very interesting side piece. Carl,
it's very, very interesting. Oh, gone.
Watch season 1 of Lost. You can mark have it's for you on. And this is it. I would like to watch it one day. It is on the list to do eventually. And House of Dragon.
Yes. I was going to say House of Dragon coming back in with kind of fantasy TV and stuff like that. Does have a competitor this year.
Very quickly, though.
Yeah.
If you want a very good channel doing House of Dragon stuff, I think I tweeted it. Casterly Talk. Olden Diaz, who appeared on one of our Kenobi videos, runs it with Ken Napzok. Ken Napzok is one of the best Star Wars media personas there's ever been. He runs his own podcast with Joe Scrums with so many great people. But Casterly Talk are doing weekly breakdowns. They know the books. They're not spoiling the books if you're viewing. Really good in-depth breakdowns. So if you're looking for a weekly Game of Thrones series, I'm just going to recommend them. And again, with this sort of media world we're in now, it's easy to get people that shout and scream about stuff that are looking for outrage. but sometimes the people that look in depth, look into the themes, look into the characters, I feel are so much more compelling as a viewer. So please do check them out. And Martin, I've never seen Game of Thrones. Yes, I think
I was going to say
you might get a better experience.
You might miss out on a few obscure references and stuff like that. But it may actually, I mean, I guess it could benefit you. We won't know until later series. We won't know until later episodes.
The only callback is it's like this is 173 years before a character was born in Game of Thrones. Like,
yes, and
in
also
terms of outright,
maybe a few kind of visual references and stuff like that. Apart from that, like,
you'll be fine. And he's finished writing the story. The author's actually finished it, so you don't need to worry about the ending.
And this isn't a spoiler because it was all plastered all over the media this week. If you want to see Matt Smith do sex scenes, then go watch this series.
He's just been out for a Comic-Con in London for winter. They got the perfect.
Oh, has he?
I mean, yeah, perfect. It's a typical Doctor Who like type. Any excuse to get Doctor Who person. But you mentioned some competition. Let's talk the Rings of Power.
Yes.
Because we said prior we would be doing weekly discussions on these. Me and you had a chat this week. We're going to be switching it like Game of Thrones to it being the end of the season discussion. The reason why, it's quite simple. There's a lot of things coming out and happening at the moment. We've spoken about the Spielberg retrospective. We spoke about the film festival. We know that Rings of Power is dropping the first 2 episodes together now, and it will finish a week before House of Dragon ends, which is really interesting. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. I know a few people that were at a screening yesterday, and I have had very good stuff. I know there's a few cinemas showing it, but it was like a fan screening type thing. Like Amazon put them on free for people. They sold out in like 30 seconds. There was a premiere in New York last week as well. It's going to be humongous. Again, I've not read Tolkien. I didn't enjoy reading The Hobbit. I'm not going to read any of the other stuff just because there's a lot of books I need to read, including Oppenheimer, which is like 800 pages. But we're going to drop it to a seasonal discussion. And, you know, I think me and you are pretty like switched on with this again. Like, we don't mind Lord of the Rings. I think I've always said I respect it more than I enjoy it. I know it's got its fans. I know it's got its hardcore fans. I know that there's, you know, variation of Tolkien scholars. You might hear misrepresentation in the media of people latching onto one Tolkien scholar dropping out of doing a show. There's like a dozen of them still working on the same show. So I am going to be quite honest and blunt. Obviously, if you follow this channel, you'll know there's a bit of history with that show on our channel. Let's just say that I can't recommend you a good, like I've been able to do for Casterly Talk, who I think have actually got a few rings of, maybe they're going to do it. Maybe go Casterly Talk for Lord of the Rings, because they've done a trailer discussion today, actually. I'm not going to watch it because I'm not as familiar with the lore of Game of Thrones. The fantasy isn't my main genre, sci-fi is. Because I don't know Lord of the Rings or the rest, I can't recommend you all like podcasts, channels, books, things. But yeah, we're going to cover it in full because, you know, we have Tolkien fans. We have people that jump on our videos. Sim, who was on our Godfather review, a few DC ones. He very much knows Tolkien. And we know him outside of this. He speaks a lot about it. So we're not able to get him on. And again, a Sunday commitment for people for like, it would be 7 weeks covering 8 episodes. It's just not viable. Again, the film festival, another show we're going to talk about in a minute. Again, House of Dragon, even us watching it, there's no guarantee we can keep it free. And I think me and you both said that, you know, we don't want to commit to doing a show and then be like, oh, sorry, guys, we're 3 episodes in. We just can't do the next 3 weeks. So, yeah, potentially it might be something, you know, this. And we've got a few comments by Carl. I think cinematically Rings of Power is great. Feels like it should have been busy. I'm with you on this. I mean, if I'm going to be blunt, season 1 has cost season 1 is $800 million.
Ridiculous amount of money.
Is it 800 million or is it 4 billion for 5 seasons or something, or is it 50?
I swear it went over. I thought the first season went over 1 billion.
It's 400 million for season 1.
Yeah,
and it works out at 50 million episodes. The trailers, again, I've watched them on my desktop. It's not my good setup over there. It's not my surround sound. It's not my 4K. Yeah. When they drop on Amazon, I can't wait. And I'm kind of in the same vein. If this had been at the cinemas, I would like to have seen it. And again, I know that Amazon putting screenings on for certain media, for certain fans, shows there is a commitment of kind to the big screen. But again, one of the most expensive media products in history should be seen on the big screen. Yeah. And again, I can tell you what's what about the law. I can't even tell you the tree beard people and what they are. But
But
I mean, how
yeah.
do you feel? Because I think the trailers have just looked fine. Like they're not giving much plot away, which is also fine because it's the Cimmerillion, right? Which
I
is
mean,
just
I was
basically
going to
like a
say
Bible.
trailers are meant to kind of put people in seats. So you see like interesting visuals, and like for the people who are hardcore fans, you'll get those kind of like nods to various different things. It's there to draw you in. It's not exactly there to tell you exactly what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen myself. I mean, like I've read through Lord of the Rings when I was a kid, but apart from that, I haven't really read through anything else like the Silmarillion or anything like that. So like it's going to be completely brand new for me. I think it's going to be very interesting and fresh to see through open eye, like brand new eyes and stuff like that. But also the benefit as well of reviewing both of them at the end of their seasons is that means we can compare them, because this is the big thing this year. Everyone was thinking, oh, Rings of Power, most expensive TV show of all time. Of course, it's going to blast out Game of Thrones out of the water because Game of Thrones has lost its reputation. After one episode of Game of Thrones, I'm not so sure anymore. I think it's going to be very interesting to be able to compare the two, because it's both high fantasy TV, and for those who absolutely love that genre and love that area of kind of like high fantasy, dragons, kind of like elves, orcs, anything like that, magic, whatever, like big battles and everything like that. It's going to be fantastic for you to be able to have two projects going on at the same time. If you're not enjoying one, maybe you'll enjoy the other. If you're not enjoying the other, it's like you can enjoy both, you can enjoy neither of them, but it's the fact that you have options now, and they're basically
Can I tell you what I
competing
hate?
head-to-head. Go on.
Oh, Lord of the Rings, it's like Game of Thrones. I'm like, you're trying to use, and I've seen this a lot, and I'm sort of gobsmacked that
they're very different, but they're both
Game of Thrones has revolutionized to me big budget TV. Like Breaking Bad to me is arguably the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But to me, Game of Thrones is the key figure point in high budgeted TV, because you look at Breaking Bad, it has the quality and it doesn't need an expensive production design. But Game of Thrones is like you're achieving cinematic concepts on the small screen now. And for a lot of people to be like, oh, this looks like Game of Thrones, that's not a bad comparison.
No,
and
it's not.
And I'm just going to be blunt. What other successful fantasy franchise has there been since Lord of the Rings in 2003? There hasn't. I mean, listen, we're getting Percy Jackson next year or the after, which I can't wait for. We're getting Aragorn, which I've heard very good stuff about the books. We're getting fantasy on the TV now. But there's no insane value fantasy just fantasy series that's successful at the moment. And that's why that is not a valid criticism. Say it looks like Game of Thrones, because you're saying it looks like the most successful fantasy show ever on TV when it's a TV show. So, and I'm just going to point this out as well. Like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings is not faithful to the book. It's faithful to the point, but it is not a 500% certified down to the dialogue line, word for word, his Lord of the Rings. That is Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, which is magnificent and is one of the most revered trilogies in history of filmmaking. It's one of the most successful trilogies ever made. Budget, Oscars, all that sort of stuff. But there are differences, and actually, I want to allude people to that. If you go on, like there's many of this documented pre-Fellowship of the Ring 2001, you can find the early era of the internet people talking about Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings the same way they're talking about Rings of Power now. Something about like the orcs being born in bubbles underground, people were scorning. That Galadriel was getting more to do. 2022, a female character getting a little bit more to do. They'd be screeching, but when Peter Jackson changed, it's all good. So all I'm going to ask people is that if you're, again, I can't tell you to look forward to something or not, but just take a much, much broader viewpoint of and also what they're adapting is the Silmarillion, which isn't a book. If I'm going to be blunt, it wasn't even published by Tolkien. It was published after his death by his son, following his notes. You can talk about the people's own ethics of things like that. Dune's very similar. There's books on the history in Dune published after the author's death by his son. And I'm with you, Tate. I can't wait to compare the two. It will be weird watching both weekly, but I'd imagine, Game of Thrones is a political show with fantasy elements. Lord of the Rings is a outright fantasy series.
Yeah.
And again, because I don't know what the direction Lord of the Rings is heading, obviously it's going to be about rings, because of Lord of the Rings, it's called the Rings of Power. I'm excited to see it, just because also I saw the Hobbit films when they came out, and I didn't mind them on the big screen. I think they're massively. I think a lot of people just remind me of the Star Wars prequels that, oh, this isn't what I saw 10 years ago. This is crap. And now we're at a point where people are now starting to say, actually, The Hobbit was good. And I'm like,
yeah.
And it's like the prequels. Oh no, the Star Wars prequels are always good. Like, no, you didn't used to say that. Everyone said they were rubbish. So there's a lot of history repeating itself. So all I can do is just ask people just to have a broader viewpoint. And again, if it's not for you, listen, it's fine. If you don't like it, it's fine. But just it's not. It's not ever. I mean, thing that I've seen. Sorry to keep moaning, but the elves have short hair. Well, the elves don't have long hair in the books, but no one complained when Peter Jackson made them all have long hair. Someone called it cultural option, and they're off their head. They don't know what cultural appropriation means. Thing. Sorry if my internet keeps dropping out. Maybe the stream has bored of me talking about Lord of the Rings, but sorry.
I TV
wise, got a comment by Tom.
TV wise, sorry, I want to go on an absolute complete side tangent in a second after this comment from Tom. So end of season works better. I feel you're actually able to discuss the context of certain episodes with the background. Exactly. And there is a time and a place for kind of going through episode by episode. I think it worked well with Game of Thrones once Game of Thrones is ramping up towards its end because it became bigger discussion points. But when we're at the start of a series, we have absolutely no idea what direction it's going to go in. We have absolutely no we can't guess what the ending's going to be at this point, but maybe 1 or 2 series in, we're able to guess a little bit more on where the characters can go from there. We have them fully established. Episode 1, we can't do that. The side tangent that I was going to go on was in the realm of TV. I want to say it was about a year ago. We made a video at some point during the pandemic of films want to be turned into video games want to be turned into films and TV series. 3 hours ago, Netflix announced BioShock will be made into a TV series, which I am just so ecstatic about. Going to be directed. Yep, going to be directed by Francis Lawrence, who directed The Hunger Games, and written by Michael Green, who did Blade Runner 2049 and Logan. That's promising. That's a good combination. That's very, very good. Like TV is going in a good direction. And I think a lot of people are kind of targeting towards TV. I just really hope that they don't turn it into like, and I'm saying this out of a person who quite likes the Umbrella Academy, and an Umbrella Academy Riverdale style show where they
ongoing, never ending.
Yeah, just just too quippy, and just I really want them to be faithful. I really want them to make it into a good series. I hear Sandman's good. I watched like 10 minutes of the first episode, then got disrupted, and we'll have to go back to that. I hear loads of fans praising that and stuff like that. So
they dropped 2 extra episodes. It was on the news last week. Like it finished.
Yeah.
But they had 2 full-length episodes ready to go. Which I thought, I mean, I can never pronounce his name. Neil Gaiman. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Neil Gaiman. Yeah.
Neil Gaiman. And he actually spoke saying none of his stuff can work on film. He's like accepted that Good Omens is Amazon. And, we've got, even going back to Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, we said earlier, we've got a streaming wars. There's no okay, like, you could argue everything in life is corporate, which is a very fair meaning. There are creators that want to create who aren't there for the corporation reasons, but they might get greenlit because of corporations. It's all about now getting their own IPs, bringing in strategies. We know Netflix is struggling as well. They need new franchises. Something like BioShock. Their big IP's done in 2 years. Strange Things. That's finito.
Yeah.
And that's their household.
BioShock, you got 3 video games, 2 technical prequel games as well, and a 4th game that's going to be coming out. It's in development at the moment. You've got 6 games worth of lore to pull from. You've got books that have been made about BioShock. You've got just a weird, expansive universe. Even going with just BioShock Infinite and the storyline that's followed in that one, you've just got so much you can take from that. There's so many different kind of timelines and branches you can go into. To put it onto film, especially with that team, with Netflix, if they throw enough money at it, that will be a very, very good series that could compete against other series in the future.
It's all about the creators you hire, and they've done that. And exactly. Disney stands out. The series for Percy Jackson I can't wait for. We've got a great comic call.
Yeah. Which
format works better? Releasing episodes weekly, dropping them once. This is always the big question.
Depends on the show. Depends on the show.
It's such a boring answer. We're going to talk about a show in a minute. We're going to drop that is dropping all at once. I think there are some shows that just definitively work better.
Let's just use the comparison straight away. We'll use the comparison straight away. So, say for example, a show is going to be coming out later on this year called Cobra Kai. That show works best if it's dropped all at once because it's not a massive cliffhanger. You haven't got like you haven't got the weekly tension of kind of a
Yeah.
big dramatic moment that people need to discuss over. On the other hand, shows that have come out this year already, like Kenobi, and shows that are also coming out this year, like Cassian, those ones, they need to be weekly. I don't want to be watching through all of them, binging through as fast as possible, and then discussing it for 1 week, and then it's done. It isn't like a flash in the pan show like that. It's not the kind of show that you'd want. It's a show that you want to build up the conversation over time and just see where it goes, especially because you have a previous lore established. Cobra Kai, on the other hand, which we will be reviewing pretty soon, dump it all at once. Just dump it all at once. Just dump it all at once. People can watch it in their own time. They can watch it in sections. They can take the time of it. The episodes aren't too long. It's good to be able to get through.
Yeah, and this is it. So, because I used to be drop it all, drop it all, drop it all. And I think even when season 2 of The Boys dropped, we actually like, why are they doing 3 episodes at once in a weekly? I actually quite admire that now, because you get enough to bring you back in and hooked on the new series. And then you get the weekly discussion, theorize what could happen, what might happen. I think Game of Thrones works wonders. The word of mouth in between weeks is exceptional. Could you imagine not waiting a week after the Red Wedding? And again, you know, when the show's done and dusted, it's great to binge. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing to do that, to do so. But I think some shows work better for your high-end, high-caliber, high-budget TV. To me, it's got to be weekly now. I'm very much in that mindset that Cassian, we're getting 3 episodes on release, but it's 12 episodes long. Then we're getting like 8 follow-up weeks, which is extraordinary. And again, you know, I would say again, I was lucky to be at the event last night. The Q&A of Diego Luna was amazing. He spoke a lot about Tony Gilroy. And the one thing that blew my mind is I didn't realize Tony Gilroy did the Bourne films, so I'm probably going to try and rewatch them in the next couple of weeks, actually. He said that how they would approach scenes, Tony Gilroy would speak to the production designer before he writes the scene. He would have design. He would tell the production designer, "I need these things in the scene, these in the building. Bring up your concept art. Let me see what's there, and then I can write your scene." And apparently, what would happen is on set, Tony Gilroy would come to set, see how it's built, and then he might change a few lines of dialogue, rewrite the scene, because he needs to be able to see what is happening to write. That's an espionage series in Star Wars. And Diego Luna says it shouldn't be called Andor, not that he's complaining. And those are the words that stuck by me. This is apparently like literally a political spy thriller TV series. And that's very quickly. I mean, listen, it's Star Wars, so I'm in. But the potential that series has, I think Tony Gilroy said this in interviews. He says he wants people that aren't Star Wars fans to watch it too. He says this isn't about fan service. This is about being a show that anyone can watch, which I think is very daring to say doing press for Star Wars. But at the same time, I immaculately respect it because he's also correct. So I guess we can say that we know we're going to be doing Cassian weekly because we kind of said it ages ago, you know, we'll always do the Star Wars shows weekly. Also, it does help, you know, we've got Dave in the comments as well. We've got enough people that jump on that are into Star Wars. We've got Phil, we've got Sam. You're a big Rogue One fan. You've got me and many others. Cassian's not a problem. Again, we just couldn't commit to Rings of Power. But Cobra Kai, which is on the screen here, I guess we can say, as you said, we are going to have a review out. And, you know, we have been dealing with Netflix in regards to this series. Here's the thumbnail. Spoiler-free review is going to drop the 6th of September at 8:01 a.m. And don't know why embargoes have to drop at 1 minute past. Well, I do because it's PT for America. It's midnight there. But we're going to have a season 5 spoiler-free review.
Yeah. If you want, I was going to say the short version of it was it's okay, and then it goes bonkers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean that reflects the four seasons.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, Cobra Kai.
Sorry,
listen,
we'll get the situation out of the way. George hasn't seen it. I have seen all of it.
Yes, you've seen. Yes, you've seen it all. I haven't, so I'm a bit jealous.
Yeah.
But you know, again, like we're very lucky we get to go to press screenings for films. We're very lucky when we get to have email exchanges with PR companies, with companies direct. You know, you don't get paid to do reviews for films as much as weird people on the internet claim that everyone that goes to press events is like, you know, the word, you get paid by Disney. It's like, I fucking wish I got paid by Disney. You know how expensive trains are to London sometimes? And Cobra Kai, again, you know, I'm just going to bluntly say, you know, we work hard for what we do. This is something we do in our spare time that is a hobby. And there are certain, you know, things we live and rule by. And I'm just going to say that fraud by false representation is not something that we want to have to be dealing with as a channel. But unfortunately, we have been dealing with fraud this week. over screeners for stuff. So I'm not going to say anything more than that. But there are legal consequences for fraud by representation, which I'm just going to say once more for anyone at home, because again, we put time and effort into doing stuff like this. We've got a lot of people that help us on this channel that we're happy to share screeners with, that take to us +1s to press events. These are people that take time out of their day. Even people in the comments, we've been able to see if we can get them to screenings before. And when we're at Celebration next year, that'll be something we want to do. Anyone that is a fan of ours that watches our stuff, if you're there, we'll certainly happily go out for drinks, a beer, or a meal after, because that's going to be such a fun week. I know that Tom's not going, which is a shame. But yeah, Cobra Kai, September the 6th. Cinema Savvy are authorized to drop a review. Shall we move on from that to make that crystal clear?
But like we've also said, we've got Cobra Kai coming out. We also have Cassian. Cassian's going to be weekly. Cobra Kai is going to be a dump all in one go kind of job.
Yeah, we get the spoiler-free review, and then we get the spoiler discussion when it's out. If you've watched it at home, you can jump on the live stream. I know that Eamon, who watches this as well, is a massive Cobra Kai fan. We've got a lot of people that support the channel that watch it. We'll have 2 videos out as we've always done. Again, it's excited to go back. The fact that technically it dropped on New Year's Day season 4. To get 2 I mean, my theory was that we'd get season 5 on New Year's Eve this year, because New Year's Eve is the Friday or the Saturday. But we've got this in September, which is so much earlier than we imagined. And
which kind of makes me think that there's got to be some kind of date or specific date or anniversary coming up next year, which is what they were kind of aiming for their finale. So I'm just gonna have a look now.
But that's Cobra Kai and Cash. I mean, I think that covers again. So TV roundup, House of Dragon season discussion at the end, Rings of Power season discussion at the end, Cobra Kai big season discussion and spoiler-free review, Cassian weekly spoiler discussions. Also, I guess we can say with Cassian, we are planning actually a really cool Rogue One video. We're going to be looking at Rogue One in a few weeks. We don't have the full details yet, but it's very much the longest 2-part we'll ever have on the channel. So we're going to do Rogue One pre-Andor, and then we're going to revisit Rogue One in 2 years or whenever season 2 comes out of Andor when it's done, and then we're going to reapproach Rogue One post-Andor, seeing the influence and differences. So we've got maybe the longest 2-parter in the channel's history, if YouTube's still a thing in 2.5 years or whatnot. But aside from that, Tate, we're going over an hour. We've still got a few more things to talk about.
Oh my God.
We've got Martin in the comments, and the amazing thing, Martin, is I think when I first got to know you was through doing the Bond stuff. We're in a great group chat on Twitter that I'm sort of more of a lurker than a tweeter, and if I'm being blunt, just because I'm a lurker. There's so many group chats these days. There's a big anniversary of a spy franchise happening at the moment, Tate.
Yes, there is.
Bond's 60th anniversary. So obviously, me and you are Bond fans. We've discussed this not just last year, over many years. Me and you have grown up with the films. We've not leached on the back of last year pretending that we're big fans of, and we had some ideas for the 60th anniversary at the start of the year that were shut down, which was a massive shame. Those ideas didn't go forward, but obviously we find ourselves in a very nice creative bit of freedom now, where we've been able to adapt some of those plans because we can't do what we wanted to do. We've seen the amazing Martin. You were saying you've been watching at the cinema. Carl, I know you mentioned to me as well. You watched one at the Odeon last week. A lot of people are on the Bond hype train, which is really cool because, again, you wouldn't think after a film last year. Normally, Bond, what happens is the film comes out, you drop off, the next one starts to come out, everyone picks it up again. Having this sort of 60-year celebration of James Bond, which credit to Eon for doing. It's a great way also to help fill the gap. And there's some really big events happening at the end of September and October. So the BFI is doing a whole James Bond weekend. On the Friday, 30th of September, you've got Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson in discussion. I couldn't get tickets out, which I was fuming about. On the Saturday, you've got the North London Derby, which I'm going to. And then I'm heading over to the BFI. There's a documentary coming out called The Sound of 007. They're going to premiere that there. So I'll be at the documentary for the music documentary. On the Tuesday, there's the massive concert at the Albert Hall, which I'm attending with my parents, which is really random but cool. Again, me and you spoke a lot in the past. I think a lot of Bond fans are brought up via their family with that. My dad's favourite Bond's Brosnan, mine's Brosnan, my mum's is Brosnan. There's a lot of family trends with the history of Bond. I know you're quite a big fan of Roger Moore. I know your dad is as well.
Sean Connery, as well.
Yeah, and what we're kind of going to do, so we've got a couple of videos. We've not got thumbnails, we can't drop them, but I guess we can formally reveal what we're doing for the anniversary now. As I said, we've had to adapt some stuff that we would have done earlier in the year. So we've got a headliner. which is 60 years of Bond. So we're gonna do the 60 greatest James Bond moments. Asterisk list by us. This isn't ascending. We're going to speak to a lot of people we discuss James Bond with, a lot of other channels. Read 007. We speak to a lot. We speak to Spy Hard. We speak to A to Zs. Even people like Shayla we keep in contact with. And you might see a few familiar faces pop up on that video when we're going through the 60. That's all I'm going to say at the moment. But that is going to drop. I mentioned that big weekend. I feel like we've said Sunday the 2nd of October. And I think we're going to stick to that. But essentially, guys, the end of September, start of October, you're going to see a few Bond videos. So as well as that, we've got a few other ones. We've got, as I mentioned, there's that documentary, the BFI. If it's an outright film, there'll be a review. If not, it's not a problem. We're going to be revisiting No Time to Die. I know you're not a big fan, which kind of makes it great. Yeah. So
it's what's going to make it kind of a good discussion, because first of all, it's going to be the second time I'm watching this film, because for me it was a one and done. But also it means that we can kind of reflect 1 year on. Have our opinions changed? Has kind of the status of Bond changed now in our heads? Like, how do we feel about it? Because our opinions do change over time. There have been many examples of films in the past where I haven't enjoyed them as much, and then I've gone back and kind of given them a second viewing, given them a second chance, and suddenly it's kind of, in my head, it becomes better. I know that Skyfall was one of those where recently on our previous retrospective, it went from me absolutely hating the film to me respecting the film in a lot of ways. Still not liking it as much as I would have wanted to, but at least having a little bit more respect for it. So yeah, it'll be very interesting going back over No Time to Die and just seeing where our heads are at with that film.
Yeah, and other things. So when we did the series Astro, everything had been out for at least 6 years. And what we can do, we can talk not just about our thoughts, if they've changed, if they've not. Obviously, we've got the controversial ending. It's not really a spoiler anymore. Obviously, James Bond dies. We can also talk about the box office performance, which we couldn't do, some more behind the scenes stuff. To a horrible point, we've got to talk about obviously what's happened with Fukunaga since, because that's not good at all, and we're not going to shy away from that. And a whole other thing. So that's going to be really interesting, because I've not seen it since the cinema. I've had it behind me on Blu-ray since like Christmas or whenever it came out. But I did see it I think 3 or 4 times at the cinema. And really random, that's getting a 3D IMAX re-release. I mean, I know it's only the BFI weekend, but it's never been in 3D. It's such a weird film to put in 3D IMAX. But again, that's all on the same week as the anniversary. And we've also mentioned a Battle of the Brackets for Bond pre-title sequence. Listen, we love Battle of the Brackets. I think we've said this before. To get 5 people free on the same evening for 2 to 2.5 hours. Yeah, it's very difficult. There's a lot of arguing and discussion on that show. Is it something people are comfortable with or confident with? We don't want to ever put someone on, make them feel uncomfortable on a video. That's not what we're here for. We want everyone to try and have a good time. So we are working on a Battle of the Brackets for pre-title sequence. Myself and Tayte are, of course, involved in that. We have a judge lined up without name dropping him. And we're just looking for a couple of fighters. But again, that's more details will follow. Again, we're looking at late September, just about finding 5 people that are free for 2.5 hours to talk about James Bond. But that'll be a pre-title sequence.
Guaranteed, we're going to try and bring in some Bond experts just so that, well, first of all, George's winning reign can stop, and also that I can get rinsed through some arguments. As much as I love Bond, it's very difficult going up against people who, do it
with the pre-title sequence. I think there's, in theory, there'll be 16 on the board, and there's only actually been 23 of them. I think, if you're being blunt. So
yeah,
that's going to be fun. So yeah, 4 Bond videos, all going well. And again, the headline is going to be 60 greatest Bond moments to cover 60 years of Bond. And I guess what we can also add to that video, we're going to be listen. Some of the best thing about James Bond is even in the films you hate, there are fantastic moments in all of them. And I think that's what separates Bond from other films. You can take great scenes out of things you don't enjoy as much. And we're going to put at least one moment in from every single Bond film. And also, this is a thing now people do ask us. We only count the official Eon films, so this isn't Casino Royale 67 or Never Say Never Again. I didn't ever know that used to be a discussion, but that actually is within Bond fans. But no, they're not going to be on the cut. I'm very old school. I'm like, it's not official. It's not on. Don't care the legalities, they have the rights, etc. It's not Bond. We've got Martin saying it's absolutely fantastic news about your Bond content. Thank you, Martin. Again, I know you sort of joined us with that. And listen, we enjoy talking Bond, and maybe there'll be a big announcement on the anniversary. Who knows? Personally, I don't think there will. But if there was, it would be at the Albert Hall. It would be geared up to be at the Albert Hall. And you'd probably have me like, fiercely crying if Piers Brosnan turned up or something. So there will be Bond stuff. And again, if you want to talk about how around this year is, that's all at the end of September and in October as well. But then there's the film festival. It's all on the same week, film festival and Bond stuff. We're in for a mega few months ahead.
It's a long end to the year, we'll put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And what I'm just looking at, we seem to have covered most of films.
Everything.
Again, we've mentioned Avatar.
Good.
There's a handful of big films left. We've got Avatar, we've got Black Adam, we've got to count that, and Wakanda Forever. Of course, there'll be other films. I'd imagine stuff like Don't Worry, Darling, Moonish Daydream, again, festival stuff. Reviews won't go away. But tonight's been more about just catching up with you all at home. And again, just telling you what we have coming down the line, because there are a few other things. We haven't even mentioned She-Hulk. Sorry, we're going to have a She-Hulk review, and that's done and dusted. Like Miss Marvel, again, we can't commit to doing Marvel weekly, and also there's certainly quantity over quality at the moment.
And
Marvel.
Also, are we going to do a Welcome to Wrexham review, similar to?
Yes, when that's done and dusted. Yeah, so there's a lovely All or Nothing review from earlier this week. We had a Faisal from Latte Farm on, which was pretty amazing for me as an Arsenal fan. That I do encourage people to check that out, just because if you're a fan of football, it's a really interesting documentary, and we got to speak about football stuff, what other documentaries we'd like to see from football, Premier League teams who could be next, and if you're a fan of football, maybe check that video out as well. I'm just trying to think, is there anything in this? And I guess what we'll all say before we start rounding out, any questions from people, do drop them. We'll reply to them whilst we're still on. But we are all gearing. We've been going over an hour and 10. But any questions you have about our stuff, about what's happening, do let us know. We're happy to answer them on the stream. But if you are typing, if you want to ask, we'll start to slowly go over this stuff. So follow us on our social medias, Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and networks.com/cinemasavvy. We've got a link to Redbubble in that description below, where you can pick up merch like this hat and Tate's pillow and Tate's hoodie and many other things. People are wondering why I'm wearing a hat and a football top. As I said, I came on late. This is my fault tonight. And again, if you're watching it down the line, if you couldn't catch us live, if you want to drop us a comment, please do. We'll happily answer any
questions and stuff like that. Like, you can still ask us questions literally on any video at any time about any of our content. It's good to keep it to the topic of the video, but feel free to kind of ask us absolutely anything about the content coming up. Any opinions on films that have come out and stuff like that, go ahead and ask us. We're happy to answer those questions, because we love films, we love discussions, and that's exactly why we do videos like this every now and then, just to kind of, keep not only you guys updated with the content that's coming out, but also keep in touch with you guys and just kind of see where film is at the moment amongst the community. So, I really enjoy doing these videos, at least whenever we can. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Create a discussion, because we really enjoy it.
Definitely. Sorry, I forgot to mention earlier. We've got JD, who's been following our Spielberg stuff. He's rewatching AI, and thanks for the updates. Again, it's been a very different series. We've said it before. We know what director we're doing next year. We know what series we're doing next year. Neither of them will be as long, even combined. They won't be as long as the Spielberg one. But when there's the film festival schedule, if there is the Fablemans, we'll have an update, not an update video for Spielberg stuff, but we'll certainly know the dates of the top 10 ranking and a potential Fablemans review. But we're looking at rounding all that at the end of November. So every Tuesday, 8 p.m. British Standard Time, 12 p.m. PET, 3 p.m. ET. You can catch us on there. And as hinted earlier, The Terminal is next week, starring Tom Hanks and Catherine Zeta-Jones, but also starring Diego Luna and Zoe Saldana. So if you're a fan of Spielberg, The Terminal is a very popular film. I was completely took off guard by it being very popular. But it is. I hadn't even heard of it in truth until we started the series. So
I swear that was one of those films. That was one of those films where you're tuning into film 4.
Film 4. That's what everyone kept saying. Everyone kept saying
in the middle of the night, and suddenly it's The Terminal's on, and you just flick it on. It'd be a random point in the film. You have no idea what you're gonna get. But
I didn't know anything, and just the amazing. There's an amazing, again, the fact that casting would have been the day after, that would have been just scary coincidental. Martin's just thanking the challenge really good. Thanks, George, and all the contributors. Listen, it's a group effort by everyone. Even when Tate's out in the mountains, he's had his mic and equipment with him. He jumped on, obviously, and I kind of want to say with that, I'm not going to get personal, but this has obviously been pretty challenging for a variety of other reasons. And again, Tate having recording equipment in the mountains made a lot of dealing with that easier. helping with that, looking after socials, and again the people that jump on, the people that are watching tonight, who tune in weekly, who take time out not just to watch but to comment as well, the people who take time out to watch and jump on our videos, even more of a reason to thank. So, as I said, we've got Tom and Dave there as well, and anyone else that might be watching it down the line. So many people that jump on and help us. It never, it's always appreciated, and it's not far from, it's always close to us. So we thank everyone for doing that, and I guess that's a lovely way to round out tonight's video.
Yeah.
So what we'll do, we'll say thank you to everyone for literally tuning in for an update video. Now, the next one of these, we tend to do stuff, don't we? Like end of the year, New Year.
I was going to say, it'll be around New Year's time. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, maybe like this year, we started this year, we announced a lot of stuff we're going to do for the year. We'll probably do that next year because, again, we know what the big series are. We've got release dates for them. They're likely not going to change. We'll have the Oscars before we bloody know it. And it'll all get ready to go ahead. There'll still be Marvel shows. There'll still be Star Wars shows. And there's going to be a lot happening. So once again, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. And we'll be sure to see you on the next one. So take care, and we'll see you then.